You are not self-made. The food you ate today was likely grown, processed, transported, and stocked by people you don't know. The light above your head depends on engineers, operators, line workers, manufacturers, and maintenance crews spread across a system too large for any one person to fully understand. And yet we tend to move through life as though all of it simply appeared. We call ourselves independent because we can pay for what we need, but money does not make us independent of others. It does give us the ability to request their cooperation. The more comfortable life becomes, the easier it is to forget just how many strangers must do their jobs well for an ordinary day to remain ordinary. Modern life is extraordinary. We turn a handle for clean water. We touch a screen and summon food, transportation, maps, medical information, and much of civilization's accumulated knowledge. These conveniences feel simple only because their complexity is normally hidden from an end-user perspective. Even the supposedly unskilled job is simple only when viewed from a distance. Watch an experienced worker perform a familiar task, and it may look effortless, but then attempt it yourself. The first day in an unfamiliar workplace reveals how much invisible knowledge is contained within competence. What order are you going to address things in? Which warning matters, and who needs to know about it? An individual task might be easy, but coordinating dozens of easy tasks across time, equipment, people, and competing priorities is not always so easy. Mastery looks simple because the struggle has already been absorbed into the person performing it. Economist Adam Smith used the manufacture of a pen to show how specialization can multiply our productive capacity. Leonard Read later used an ordinary pencil to make an even stranger point. No single person fully knows how to produce a pencil from scratch. The materials, machinery, transportation, and technical knowledge emerge from a network of people who may never meet. Friedrich Hayek described the same phenomenon in informational terms. The knowledge required to coordinate society is dispersed among millions of people. It does not exist in any one mind or any one central control room, so long as there is no artificial superintelligence. Civilization works because different people understand different fragments of reality. The mechanic hears something in an engine the customer cannot hear. The operator notices a vibration invisible on the dashboard. We enjoy the output of knowledge we do not ourselves possess. For this, we should be grateful and humble, but instead, abundance often produces an entitlement mentality. When a shipment is late or a service fails, we may experience the breakdown as a personal insult. We rarely experience the thousands of successful transactions surrounding that failure as remarkable. Gratitude is not merely appreciating pleasant experiences, but rather it is accurately perceiving dependence. It is the ability to transcend individual points of grievance. This becomes especially clear when we discuss money. Money may be real in its consequences, but it's relational in its meaning. It is not food, shelter, medicine, electricity, or labor, but it is a socially recognized claim that allows its holder to request those things from other people. The Bank of England has described modern money as a widely accepted IOU, much of it existing as bank deposits created through lending. A bank balance is not independence from society. It is a claim upon society. This reveals a paradox inside so-called financial independence or financial freedom. A person may accumulate enough assets that eventually employment becomes optional. And while they may have gotten their time back, they still depend on markets functioning, businesses producing, contracts being enforced, currencies retaining their purchasing power, and future workers creating what their assets will buy. Even the familiar 4% withdrawal guideline in retirement came from historical market behavior. It was never a law of nature, as periods of punctuated equilibrium exist throughout ecological and economic history. Financial independence is not true self-sufficiency. It is a different configuration of dependence, known as interdependence. Instead of exchanging present labor for income, the investor relies on claims against future production. The dependence becomes less visible, but it does not totally disappear. This is not an argument against wealth or investment, but rather a call to recognize that leverage is different from transcendence or superiority. The worker, the owner, the investor, and the consumer occupy different positions inside the same network, and most of us occupy several of them at once. We condemn systems from which we also hope to benefit. That doesn't make every arrangement fair, but it does mean that moral clarity requires more than identifying simplistic villains. Institutions shape behavior by rewarding some actions and punishing others. Douglas North described institutions as the incentive structure of society. This helps explain why replacing a corrupt person does not necessarily eliminate a corrupt pattern. Put someone new inside the same structure of rewards, penalties, and information bottlenecks, and the system may reproduce similar behavior. Elinor Ostrom showed the other side, that communities can govern shared resources when there is an alignment of rules, trust, monitoring, and accountability. Neither character nor structure alone is enough, because good people can be distorted by bad incentives, and good rules can be hollowed out by bad character. Civilization requires both. We prefer to imagine corruption as something other people do, like politicians are corrupt, executives are corrupt, institutions are corrupt. But systems are also maintained through smaller accommodations, like the metric we quietly manipulate, or the rule we selectively enforce, or the shortcut we condemn when another person benefits from it, and yet rationalize when we do it ourselves. Institutions are not creatures hovering above or outside of humanity. They are patterns perpetuated by human decisions, so they are all of us. Not everyone has equal perceived power or responsibility, but none of us stands completely outside the systems we criticize, and none of us sees the whole picture. Our experiences are real, but very small in the grand scheme of things. The goal is not to deny our experiences, but to place them within larger evidence and context. There is no human viewpoint large enough to contain the whole of civilization. So it's impossible to be all-knowing, but it is possible to organize humility into a method, and that returns us to gratitude. Gratitude is sometimes mistaken for passivity, like be thankful, accept what exists, stop complaining, and put your head down. But genuine gratitude should produce the opposite. That is, when you recognize how much effort your life requires from other people, you become less willing to waste what they've made possible for you. You become less casual about your health, your attention, your money, your abilities, and your time, and you stop viewing civilization only as a machine designed to satisfy you, and you begin asking what you contribute to it. Not everyone must start a company, become wealthy, or dedicate every waking hour to productivity. Rest, play, beauty, affection, and contemplation are not failures in and of themselves, but a life composed entirely of consumption eventually becomes pointless. Meaning, after all, requires active generation. The question is not whether you extracted the maximum pleasure from civilization. It is whether civilization is slightly stronger because you were part of it. Did you perform your work with care? Did you learn something worth transmitting? Did you strengthen another person's capacity or character? Did you resist an incentive when giving in would have made the system worse overall? We are not fully self-made. We stand on the shoulders of giants, but we are capable of agency. We did not earn the infrastructure, the knowledge, the sacrifices, the inheritance, or the historical luck that placed us here right now, but we can decide what kind of participant we become. Perhaps that is the proper response to an extraordinary life, not guilt for having received it or entitlement because it was given, but rather gratitude expressed as renewed responsibility. Independence understood as interdependence, and freedom measured not by how completely we escape the needs of others, but by how deliberately we choose what we owe in return. This has been Lumen et Ratio. light and reason.